Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the World Racing Network for tonight's broadcast of the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. Tonight, we are at Kansas Speedway for the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series 150 at Kansas. I'm Mitchell Adams. Joining me in the booth again here tonight is Garrett Gleason. And Garrett, very exciting to have our friends at NSRA on board as tonight's title sponsor. I know these two leagues have worked together for a very long time and love to promote their series they've got coming up here in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's always great to support NSRA, and I just want to take a moment here before we get down to business to say how much I admire Chris Darling, who founded NSRA, and Justin White, who is currently the lead administrator of NSRA, because when I decided to get TNR back going again, NSRA and Chris Darling was the example that I wanted to be like, and their truck series, which is their staple series, provides some of the best racing out there. And Jimbo and Stay Tuned Sports is a tremendous sponsor to all of us sim racers. He's so supportive and such an awesome guy, and anything we can do to support them. So I'm reaching out to everyone here through our little league here, TNR, to say, hey, Friday nights, NSRA, Stay Tuned Sports Series, Truck Series, get over there and get racing, and let's support each other, and we'll have two good leagues here and two good places to race for everyone.
I'm excited for the start of that series again this year because I get to get back out on track too. It's been quite a while, so definitely go give NSRA some love. Their broadcast Friday nights, I believe it starts in 2 weeks over on our friends at 3 Wide TV. And they're on social media at NSRA League, Facebook and Twitter. Stay Tuned Sports out in the chat. Speaking of Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series, Garrett, how about them Giants?
Yeah, that was a rough one, but we overachieved. It's one of those things when you expect to finish 25th on track and you finish in the top 15, you're still not there, but at least you're getting closer, and that's what I felt. The Giants had a major talent disadvantage, a lot of years of bad roster building, but they lost to the better team. Congratulations to the Eagles, and we'll see what the Eagles have for the 49ers next week. We got some good games ahead, and hey, Jimbo, you sold your soul for that first Eagles Super Bowl. I can't wait to see what you're going to sell for this next one.
Taking a look out on track here tonight, just under 2 minutes left in the practice session. It is James Lorello fastest in practice by about a half a tenth of a second over J.D. Laird, who you see now pulling into pit lane. Third fastest is Tom Bourne. Fourth fastest, Bronson Stafford. Fifth fastest, Jake Bustos, who you see there on the screen. Those are your top five in practice. Some of the big highlights there we're looking at, Garrett. J.D. Laird, obviously back this week, dominated last week at Auto Club. James Lorello, his second race back. We haven't seen too much of Tom Bourne, Bronson Stafford, and then Jake Bustos. He's been fast all season long, gets the wall a little bit there. But you've got a loaded field here tonight. This is 25 cars taken to practice as Bustos destroys that race car, going to the backup for qualifying. But Garrett, this is going to be a big field here tonight. These drivers haven't seen a pack this size and so tight in speed. The top 22 cars are all within a half a second of each other here tonight. That's almost the full field. So tonight, I think with the multi-groove racing we always see at Phoenix 2 is going to be one of the more competitive races we've seen so far.
It's going to be a tremendous race, Mitchell, and I didn't have this one circled on my calendar necessarily as one of the highlights of our season, but I think it has that potential. A lot of different grooves we're going to see guys running. The high groove is going to be very important for these drivers, and not every 25 car field is the same, but this is a stacked 25 car field with so much speed, so much talent throughout the field. All those drivers you touched on, but we have guys like John Cannizzaro, Jason Gracias, Tristan Maher, Floppy Tellier's like 20th in practice. Jason Freeman's back. Like, there are so many drivers that could put on a good show and win this race, and I can't wait, Mitchell. Let's get qualifying over, let's get practice over, and let's get to racing.
Well, luckily for you, we are halfway there. The practice session just wrapped up. That means we are going to shift over to qualifying for the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150 here And we did the lap guide again here on the World Racing Network this week, Garrett. And one thing I highlighted in that video is that difference in between the lanes, because traditionally on iRacing here at Kansas, you run the wall and nobody's going to pass you. You're going to finish wherever you're running, and that was basically that. But in the last year or two, iRacing really put an emphasis on trying to get more multi-groove racing, and I think Kansas is the perfect example of that, because that inside lane still very raceable. It can be very difficult to manage tires down there, but I think you're going to see a lot of drivers probably stay up high, but you're going to see a good mix of where drivers want to run, and it's going to be an interesting situation as you see Alonso Chicano start his first lap for qualifying.
Yeah, great to have Alonso back. I talked to him earlier. He says he's going to try to make as many races as possible, and he certainly makes our field better just by being here. I was touching on a couple things with these guys in the drivers' meeting before you pulled me into the booth, and I said to these guys, I said, you're going to have a lot of guys cutting that tri-oval. Do not expect them to give you room. Like, do not expect the guy that's on your outside to fan up to the wall and just let you back on track if you cut that open. That's something I'm going to keep an eye on when we get to the race mode. But first, we have qualifying here. Jamar Dumas in the Stay Tuned Sports Machine, getting his lap underway.
If Jamar Dumas hasn't started the season the way I think he wants to, looking to kind of rebound here at Kansas, that's not going to do it though. Gets the wall in turn number 1. So far, fastest in qualifying, Tom Bourne in the Flat Out Racing Network number 16 car. Very close. Philip Scott up there, Paul Bilson as well. A lot of drivers have yet to take a lap time. JD Laird just getting out there on the track to put a lap down. Again, JD, we talked about it in the post-race last weekend. Just lights out fast at Auto Club last Monday night. And so you come in here, and we'll see what kind of lap he can put down in qualifying. But in the back of your head, you've got to remember that if you're anybody else in the field. As JD has big trouble, though, tries to get it locked down here. Because if he crosses that start-finish line, it counts for a lap. He does not, so now JD can go back to pit road, reset, and try it again. But like I was saying, everybody else is going to be comparing themselves to that 46, Garrett, because he's kind of the benchmark he set last week. He's the guy you want to beat if you want a good shot to win these races. And qualifying is a great chance to see how you stack up compared to a driver like that.
Absolutely, Mitchell. And if I'm these guys, James Lorello, quickest in practice, I want to put as much distance between myself and JD Laird as possible. So get out there, get the pole. Hope JD has a bad lap, starts 10th, and then there's always a chance of something going wrong or you building a lead and lap people and cycles happen, all that sort of thing. That's what racing is all about. But right now, I want to start as far up front with as stacked as this field is. I don't expect guys that are back in the pack to just lay over and let you pass them as if you start 20th. So starting position is going to be very important, I think, Mitchell.
Watching Shane Ewing, who had a really good run last week at Auto Club, takes his second qualifying lap. That puts Shane to 9th place on the board. The 18 of John Cannizzaro just jumped up into 4th place. The first time we've seen John Cannizzaro this season. Glad to see that 18 back out on track. New fastest in qualifying, JD Laird in the number 46 by a narrow margin. Knocks Alonso Chicano. And that was just the first lap. So JD still has another one to put down. A couple other drivers out on the track as well. Jake Bustos out to take lap time, as well as Jason Schue in the number 3. But I think that answered the question to see, am I quicker than the 46? The answer so far looks to be no. We'll see if Jason Schue has anything for that pole time. He is on his final lap in that Texas Roadhouse car. I like the look Jason has going on this week. A little bit new. See what he has for this lap. Robert Kinney, what was on the track, just pulled off. That lap going to go 18th for Jason Schue. That rounds out all the cars we have out on track at the moment with about 15 seconds left in qualifying. It looks like pole for JD Laird.
Not a great start if you're anyone else in the field, Mitchell. That's not what you want to see, is that 46 loading off the truck and just being that fast already. But we talk about it every time JD Laird shows up for a Total Nonstop Racing event. He's here to trophy hunt. He's here to win, and anything else is a disappointment. well, he's 1-for-1 by claiming the pole, but we'll see what he has as we're getting ready to get this 100-lap event, the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150 underway, and I believe you're going to take us through our starting grid.
Yep, we'll take you through all the cars lined up to grid for this race in the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. It is the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150, and it is J.D. Laird who will lead the field to green, starting in the outside pole, the 25 of Alonso Chicano. In the second row, it's James Lorello on the inside, Tom Bourne on the outside. Row number 3 is John Cannizzaro and Tristan Thuggy Maher. Row number 4, Philip Scott, Shane Terrian. Starting in 9th place, Bill Edwards, and then Jake Bustos will round out the top 10. Then it's Shane Ewing starting in 11th. Jason Freeman rolls off in 12th. I don't believe we've seen Jason Freeman so far this season either, so glad to see the 20 back out on track. It's Robert Kinney starting in 13th. Matthew Rodriguez in 14th. The tabletop trio machine, Bob Giaquinto, rolls off 15th with Paul Bilson to his outside in 16th. Then at 17th, it is the 28 of Jamar Dumas, the Stay Tuned Sports Machine, and the Texas Roadhouse car of Jason Schue in 18th. Rounding out your top 20, Vincent Valvano 19th, and David Durand in 20th. Then looking in the back portion of the field, it's Jason Gracias not taking time in qualifying, 21st. Steven Doziak 22nd, and Steven Doziak is sporting an onboard camera for us tonight. We'll take a look at that a little bit later in the broadcast. Bronson Stafford starts in 23rd, Mike Floppy Tellier 24th, and rounding out the 25-car field, Robert Tripp in the 35.
Well, take a breath, Mitchell. Maybe get a drink in. That's a stacked field like we talked about, guys. Jason Gracias, Floppy towards the back. Bronson Stafford, another driver I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And our onboard Steven Doziak camera. Can't wait to see that, because I expect him to be the first driver out there to get the wall stripe. I saw him struggling a bit in practice, and I think he's going to be the first one to get up in those marbles and get a little wall glued, as we would say.
The Darlington stripe at Kansas. It deserves its own name with how much we run the outside line here at Kansas. There's going to be quite a few drivers who will want me to keep the camera on the left side of the car instead of the right side by the time this thing is all said and done. On this restart, J.D. Laird was so good on starts last week, but I'm watching Alonso Chicano in the outside because we've talked about him every week, Garrett. That 25 just seems to creep his way up toward the front. Has put together 2 really fast runs in a row. James Lorello, no stranger to victory lane either, starting in 3rd. We'll see what he has for J.D. Laird. Last week's pole sitter, Philip Scott, will roll off from 7th. We talked about him wanting a really good run. Didn't get it last week, but we'll see what Philip has in that World Ninja League for this week. But the iRacing pace car pulls off of pit road. J.D. Laird hits the restart zone, and we are green flag racing at Kansas Speedway, and it was not a good jump for James Lorello in 3rd. That allows J.D. Laird to get well up through the field. Lorello falls back several positions, fighting with Jake Bustos to his outside, and it's side by side for 2nd place with Alonso Chicano and Tom Bourne down the back straightaway. Look at the 38, Shane Terrian, right there with him.
Wow, Mitchell, these guys, I expected them to be feeling each other out a little bit because there's some new faces or guys that haven't raced so far this season, but they're wasting no time. That 16 looks like it has some speed under it, and he's kind of a wild card because we haven't seen that vehicle out on track so far this season.
Yeah, Tom Bourne, a new face this season. Looking at the 18 as well, John Cannizzaro trying to make moves, move himself up. Went down 1 position on that initial lap, but he's been fighting with a lot of the drivers around him. Big movers on the first lap, too. You had Matthew Rodriguez pick up 5 positions in the opening lap as someone, I believe Robert Kinney in the 34, got up into the outside wall out of turn 4. Got to be careful in the opening laps with those cold tires. You don't want to slide it around and get the wall now, but Kenny looks to have settled it back in, and you see him kind of running in the middle. No one seems to really want to venture too high up into that outside groove this early on, except for Jason Gracias.
Well, Gracias is just here to have fun and pass cars. That seems to be his mentality lately. He's raced for so many years. I think he's at the point where he's just sick of getting out front and dominating, so he wants to start at the back and pass people. You mentioned, as we have a great battle for the lead, we were just talking about the speed of that 16 FRN machine of Tom Bourne, and it looks like he has the lead here, and JD is going to tuck in behind him.
Yeah, Tom Bourne slipped to the outside of JD Laird and got around him, and that is the very traditional way to make a pass here at Kansas. You just get up to somebody's outside and you make the move. JD seems committed to that inside lane. He hasn't given it up even after getting past, but Tom Bourne already stretching out almost a half-second lead after getting around JD Laird, who settles back into the third position. And you see Bourne as well running in that high outside lane as JD Laird's going to try and settle back in and keep Shane Terrian right behind him.
I'm JD in that 46. I'm saying, okay, I see you, 16. You got something for me. I'm going to study now that I'm behind you, figure out where you're beating me, and that's why JD's one of the best in the business. We're going to see if he's going to be able to close this gap, but he's got some pressure from behind as we look further back in the field. Matthew Rodriguez, you talked about him being our biggest mover, told me his arm is in a brace, and he's out there making passes. He is a wild man, and it's somebody I enjoy racing with and enjoy watching out there on the track each and every week.
Isn't that old school NASCAR style racing with the brace on? Got to give him a ton of credit. He's doing a really good job. Picked up 6 positions in the first 6 laps of the race. Gonna lose one there to Shane Ewing, but still an impressive opening couple of laps for the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez. They're both trying to get around Jason Freeman in the 20. Freeman's up 5 positions since the start of the race as well. Started in 12th, now runs 7th. Got a battle right in front of him as well. James Lorello trying to hold off the 18 of John Cannizzaro. Canizzaro's been running a lot of dirt recently, I know. He's in the TNR Dirt Series as well. I'm curious to see how long it takes him to get reacclimated here to the asphalt in TNR. He's a very talented race car driver, but it's a tough transition going from dirt to pavement.
Yeah, not many do it better than John Cannizzaro. And wow, it's the 4th race of the year, and I got a John Cannizzaro compliment out first thing. I didn't even say something negative about him, but John did not have much practice on this racetrack. He showed up with about 10-ish minutes left in practice, so seeing him feeling it out a little bit, racing with guys he hasn't raced with, and driving a car that's a lot heavier on a different type of surface, and he's doing a pretty good job so far. But John's one of those guys that if he keeps racing these asphalt races, he's going to be contending for wins by the end of the season. And I'm not counting him out for tonight either, but good to see him and Freeman back in the TNR series here.
Yeah, certainly a good showing. Started in the top 5, currently runs in 6th. The battle back in the field a little bit more right in front of Steven Doziak. You've got the 23 of Bob Giaquinto trying to hold back the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier. And if that doesn't show you how competitive these fields are, Garrett, Mike Tellier won the first 2 races of the season, running in 17th here tonight. That is how high the level of competition here is in the Total Nonstop Racing League. Trying to work under Robert Kinney now for the 15th position.
Yeah, Mike is a wheel man. Like, we know that. You and I have broadcasted his races. I've raced with Mike for 20 years now. Mike's a wheel man, and the fact that he's back here battling for his for a top 15, top 20 at this stage in the race is kind of crazy. But Mike's been quiet these last 2 weeks. Started off the season with the 2 wins, and now he's just trying to feeling everybody out. But when you're in a good position in points, you're afforded that opportunity. But we'll see how Mike goes through the field, if it's slow and steady or if he's going to take a chance later for some track position.
We've got Steven Doziak in a battle, so I think it's a great time, Garrett, to whip out our onboard camera with Steven Doziak here tonight. We haven't used this yet this season. That is a look at Steven Doziak as he pilots that number 55 machine around this racetrack, and you see him trying to work up the inside. A lot of other drivers as well in the back here trying to work that inside lane, but you see the difference, and some people shoot high, some people shoot low, and it's almost driver preference here at Kansas. You get a lot of different options at how you want to approach this racetrack.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that was the only thing Doze whipped out when you put the camera on him, but thanks, Mitchell. Yes, nice to see Steven Doziak being very camera friendly right now, wearing this Total Nonstop Racing shirt. If anybody else wants one, let me know. We'll get you one ordered. But Doze is out there feeling off the racetrack, and it's good to be able to see him work that wheel live here on the World Racing Network. So thanks, Doze, for being our onboard driver, and I hope you give us something, maybe like a replay where you slide back and forth or something. We could cue it in later and do that in slow-mo maybe.
Yeah, big thank you to Steven Doziak for allowing us to look on board his number 55 machine here tonight at Kansas. We'll check back in on your race leader, Tom Bourne, who's still sitting about a half a second in front of JD Laird, who runs in second place. It's still Alonso Chicano in third. The battle, though, is for the fourth place position. James Lorello just worked his way around Shane Terrian, so moved the 13 of Lorello up into fourth. And I like Lorello here tonight. I've raced with him a long time as well, and James is a very patient race car driver. He likes to kind of lay back and let the car come to him. Alonso Chicano, a big spin out of turn number 4, gathers it back up going through the front stretch. We will go back on the World Racing Network replay and see what happened to the 25 of Chicano. My guess, he probably just got a little high out of turn 4. That's exactly what happened to him, Garrett.
Yeah, a little bit of a tank slapper there. Eventually takes the scenic Johnny Williams path through the infield, and I would call that a good save. He didn't take anyone out. He didn't wreck his race car, and we have our stage break coming in 10 laps, and Alonso will be able to get that damage fixed, put 4 fresh tires on, and be back in contention. So good job by Alonso, and good job by everyone else avoiding him and not having any type of issue.
Yep, we stay green flag racing here, and Alonso Chicano lost a lot of track position, down from the top 5 all the way to 23rd. So quite a dip. 16 positions dropped that lap for Chicano. But like you said, stage breaks coming up and stage points on the line. The battle for the race lead you see on your screen. JD Laird trying to work back up the inside lane of Tom Bourne. He's going to get the lead at the line, and it was just like we were talking about. JD was a half second back, and then all of a sudden we come back to these two, and now it's JD Laird back up front, but Tom Bourne not ready to let him get away with it. He looks back up the inside into turn number 3. JD pinches him down, giving him a little space through the middle of the corner. Going to try and build the momentum up. Oh, they got tight through turns 3 and 4, but that momentum on the high line for the 46 going to propel JD Laird back up into the race lead into turn number 1.
Wow, what a battle there between JD and Tom, and two professionals. I get nervous when cars get that close, Mitchell. You don't want to have the dreaded net code happen, but that was an incredible battle, and something I'm sure JD was excited about, because last week nobody could even come close to touching him. So being able to retake the lead there on Tom had to mean something. But I'm very impressed with that 16, and if he's going to stick around for the season, we might have another championship contender on our hands, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been a great run here for Tom Bourne. Started in 4th, led most of the opening laps. Now he's going to fall back behind JD Laird. You've got James Lorello running in 3rd, Shane Terrian in 4th. It's Shane Ewing running in 5th, Jake Busto 6th, Matthew Rodriguez in 7th, and then John Canizaro slipped back a little bit to 8th. He is under fire from Jason Freeman, and Jason Gracias just got around him. So Gracias in the 8th place position. Those 8 would be the cars scoring points at the stage. Freeman up high into the wall out of turn number 4. Kind of the same thing we saw Alonso Chicano do just a handful of laps ago, except he didn't shoot back down the racetrack, which is very good because he'd have caused a wreck with multiple cars there. So good job by Jason Freeman keeping that up by the wall.
Yeah, good job by Freeman, but it gives me flashbacks seeing him and Canizaro running around each other. I administrated the dirt league for many of the races this past season, and these two were always around each other, causing problems, causing yellows, and we don't need that transferring over here to asphalt. So I'm glad Jason was able to keep it running. But like I said earlier, it's good to have him back. He's a very talented driver, and I expect him to be around this top 10 the entire night. But you did mention our friend Jason Gracias, who's made his way up into the 8th position. Jason's one of those guys who's very strategic. He saves tires. He's very smart out there, and he's just going to pick them off one at a time, and he's going to be in that top 5 too by the end of the night.
Jason Grossi is looking to get a run on Matthew Rodriguez. That's the benefit that outside lane gives you, as you see how much more speed the one of Gracias has than Matthew Rodriguez down the front straightaway. And Jason Gracias has really been dedicated to this outside lane since the drop of the green flag. We've seen him up there, and he should make the pass on the back straightaway here. Might barely hang with him, Matthew Rodriguez, but Jason Grossi is certainly moving up through the field. Started in 21st, is currently running in 7th with that pass on Matthew Rodriguez. You see him get clear, and just 2 laps until the stage, getting himself up into the points. But JD Laird now comfortably out in front, over a second back to Tom Bourne. So JD Laird, kind of the same thing we saw last week. He ran behind the leader for a little bit, then got to the lead, and then just drove away. We are going to have that caution, so he's not driven away yet, but it's certainly the long run pace we saw last week, which is not what everyone else wants to be seeing.
No, absolutely not. But I'm just guessing that he maybe did a little better job saving his tires in that 46 than the 16 was able to. 16 maybe used them up a little bit, making the initial pass, but that's why we have a stage break. It's kind of a reset for everyone. You see your tire wear, you know what you did wrong, and the speed is what matters, because you can't say for sure this next run is going to be a green flag run. So if you have a 20-25 lap fast car, or even less than that, we might have a 15 lap run at the end of the race. You need to know that now, so when it comes into play later, you know, hey, this is when I should use my tires, this is when I shouldn't use my tires, and just be ready for that moment to pounce.
This one not for the points, but still a good battle going on between the 23 of Bob Giaquinto and the 24 of David Duran. This the battle for 16th position, as we expect the stage caution at just about any second now. These two continue to race around. Duran going to be able to clear Bob Giaquinto there. Oh, Bob got a little bit sideways. He might have gotten the wall there on the straightaway. It knocked him out of shape. Gathers it back up, and there is the stage caution for JD Laird. He will pick up the stage win once again. Tom Bourne finishes in 2nd, James Lorello 3rd, Shane Terry in 4th, Shane Ewing in 5th, Jake Busto 6th, Jason Grossi 7th, and Matthew Rodriguez in 8th will be the driver to score points. The first driver to miss out on scoring points, we haven't talked about him yet tonight, Bill Edwards in the 5. Came so close, not quite for Bill, and then Philip Scott rounded out your top 10.
That's a very strong top 10. Shane Ewing in 5th, very consistent driver, and that's a good spot for him, especially showing the speed early on. Shane's a veteran. He's probably the most veteran driver we have, so I expect long runs to definitely benefit that 32 machine. But Bill's also a veteran, and Shane's, I would say Shane respectfully is a veteran. Bill, I would say he's an old geezer. But Bill, you got to get those stage points, bud. They all add up at the end of the year. You got to do just a little bit better. Okay, Bill? Let's try harder as we get ready for pit stops.
Yep, it is the stage break here. And again, thank you all for tuning in here tonight. That everybody out in the chat. We've got Stay Tuned Sports. He's talking smack about one of us. I don't know who, Garrett.
I could take a guess. It's probably Jimbo's talking. It's probably about me. I can't imagine what I could possibly have done wrong.
I didn't want to say it. But yeah, probably. Tristan Maher standing up for you out in the chat. RC Plains out in the chat. Johnny Williams saying good luck all, and hello to the booth. Hello, Johnny. Also have the Windsors saying go Bill. Thank you all for tuning in, and if you are watching and want to get out into the chat, we are more than welcome to talk with you. It gives us something else to do for 100 laps of racing here in the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150. And if you want more information about tonight's race sponsor, the NSRA, their link is down in the video description that will take you to their Facebook page. More about recruiting there. If you would want to join or watch those races, 3Y TV puts on a good show, and you can also drive here in the Total Nonstop Racing League, I'm sure, if you are looking for something. More information also in the video description about TNR and the TNR Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service.
Yeah, Mitchell, just to go back to why we're supporting the NSRA, not everyone has Monday nights free and could race at Total Nonstop Racing. So a lot of us also race at NSRA. And if we want to encourage people that is a good league, it's run professionally and properly, and you could have the same type of experience you could have at TNR over there at NSRA with Justin. So if you sign up and are going through the approvals process, now they removed the ratings cap, and now it's pretty much a, hey, I want to run here type of basis. But if you are a friend or a racer in the Total Nonstop Racing League and want to race there, it is much easier for you to get in there now. So please reach out to Justin, support his league. I want to see 35 trucks plus at that first race coming up in February, maybe a week or two here. So I encourage everybody. Don't forget about us here at Total Nonstop Racing. We'll be here on Mondays, but if your Friday nights are free, NSRA, Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series on 3Y TV. Don't miss out.
Stay Tuned Sports out in the chat says they have one more recruitment race this Friday, so there's your chance if you are interested in doing some Friday night racing. Jason Schue back down pit road, as well as Bob Giaquinto, probably trying to get some repairs. You see the right side of that car scraped up quite a bit from that little incident he had on the back straightaway right before the stage break. That might put Bob in a position to need, conveniently, the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award, which we have not given out yet tonight.
That's because I'm not in the field, Mitchell. Had I been out there, I would have been in position for the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award, but we'll have to wait for our next eligible participant for that. But these guys look like they're getting doubled up here, and the one to go, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, his car lights do go out there, so one lap until we go back green flag racing here at Kansas. JD Laird once again going to lead the field to green. James Lorello going to start to his outside. Row number 2, Tom Bourne on the inside. Shane Terrian on the outside. Row 3, Jake Bustos, Shane Ewing. Lorello did not get the greatest of starts on the initial race start. We'll see if he can do a little bit better here. Getting close to the 1/3 race mark here in just a couple of laps. And I'll be curious to see if Tom Bourne takes the same approach he did last time, Garrett. He got out aggressive from the drop of the green flag, ran out to the lead. I wonder if he just burned his tires up too quick. Of course, they're racing to the stage, so you don't need to save for an extended run. But I am curious to see if that 16 goes hard from the drop of the green flag, or maybe we see him lay back a little bit more to start the second run.
That's a good point, Mitchell, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of guys in this field now save their tires. If there's not a wreck on this restart, which I hope there's not as administrator, I'm planning on a long green flag run. I think the pit window somewhere between 35 and 40 laps. You want to have something left at the end of that run, and these guys that ran out of tires at lap 25 will be at a disadvantage. JD is shot out of a cannon again, but they're 2 by 2 behind him.
Yeah, JD Laird drives out to the race lead. The battle is for second place once again. James Lorello to the outside of Tom Bourne in the 16. Lorello had a much better start this time, learned from the initial start of the race. The 32 of Shane Ewing jumping up into the outside lane. He got a position on Shane Terrian, who now falls back into the 5th place position. Behind them, Philip Scott making moves as well. You saw him jumping up to the inside lane. A lot of side-by-side racing on the first lap of this race. Alonso Chicano jumped 5 positions on that restart. John Cannizzaro up 4. I expect Chicano to try and move himself back up through the field. Ran inside the top 5 the entire opening part of the races. Oh, that was an aggressive move to the outside of Jamar Dumas, and it's not going to work. Dumas hard into the wall off the nose of Alonso Chicano, and you could kind of see that one coming, Garrett. Chicano tried to stick it to the outside of Jamar mid-corner, and that just usually doesn't work out, especially when there's another car to the inside who doesn't necessarily know that move is being made.
That's a heartbreaker. I'm sorry to see that out there, Mitchell, and I know Jamar was struggling in practice to work that outside groove, and Alonso has a fast race car, saw that opening to the outside and tried to make it work. And I thought they were going to pull it off, but it seemed like the momentum was lost a little bit here. They ended up going 3 wide, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at this replay. Yep. At the 3 wide, Jamar maybe thought he was running out of some racetrack and drifted up where there was already Alonso on his outside. Mitchell, did you see that any differently?
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. It looked like they were going to make it work, but then I think Jamar turned up a little bit when the 61 of Bronson Stafford got up his inside just to try and clear the racetrack, and there just wasn't enough room. We're going to go on board with the 25 of Alonso Chicano. It's a great move if he makes this work, but it's very aggressive because it happens late in the corner, and you see barely any movement from either one of those cars, but they just came together there on corner exit. And yeah, I think that's just aggressive racing here. Nothing wrong with it, but unfortunately, Alonso Chicano, we talked about him trying to want to move his way up through the field. That is not going to help that 25 in any way. And Jamar Dumas continues to just struggle this season with situations not really in his own control, really, for the most part. And unfortunately for Jamar, you can see that race car really beat up. So both of those drivers going to come out on the wrong end of that one.
Yeah, more damage on the 25 than I expected to see there. Is looking like we have our first tabletop trio Lucky Dog Award winner Robert Kenny in the 34 getting his lap back, and we have 2 cars with damage out there, so he'll be able to pick up perhaps a couple spots pretty easy, and we'll see how far he can work his way through the field.
Yep, Robert Kenny, the first recipient of the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award. I don't believe we gave one out last week either because of all the green flag racing we had there. That puts everybody except Alonso Chicano back onto the lead lap. Chicano, you would assume, is towing back to his pit stall with significant damage as well. Not much of a change up front. No takers on pit road for most of your race leaders. It's J.D. Laird in the lead, James Lorello in second, Shane Ewing in third now, then Tom Bourne fourth, Shane Terrian in fifth. Watching, though, Jason Gracias up into the 6th position. He continues to slowly creep his way up through this field. And another driver who was making a lot of moves on that initial restart there we just had was the 18, the Stay Tuned Sports Machine of John Cannizzaro. He moved up through quite a few cars in those first couple of laps.
Well, the saying is you can't fix stupid, and you can't teach stupid not to be stupid, Mitchell, and that's John Cannizzaro. He's going to make moves and do stupid things out there, and for the most part, he makes it work. It's like kind of charming in a way. I don't want to be friends with him, but I think I could tolerate him in limited capacity, but the wild child, being the wild child out there, and it's really nothing new here at a Total Nonstop Racing event, seeing that 18 making moves and getting as many spots as possible. I actually think, Mitchell, when we first went back green, I saw them 4 wide in the back of the pack, and I was keeping my eye on that for a wreck. I saw Paul Bilson in the middle there, and it's just incredible. These guys 4 wide just get everything they can on these restarts, and I don't expect this restart to be much different. These guys are going to try to grab as many spots while they're bunched up before they get strung out.
Yeah, the easiest time to make a lot of positions up quickly is on these restarts when everyone's bunched up. And that's usually why we see more of the wrecks in the short run, because once people get spread out, it's a lot more difficult to find cars to wreck with than when you're side by side, 3 wide, maybe like you said, 3 or 4 wide. And we'll see what happens here because the pace car lights have gone back out. J.D. Laird looks to be taking the high line here on this restart. That puts James Lorello second place to the inside. That's an interesting move from J.D. Laird. It's what we would normally expect at Kansas, but JD's been pretty committed to that inside lane, so maybe just trying something out here. Still plenty of racing left, a lot of laps left, so an interesting move from your race leader. One I definitely like to see, though.
I like to see it. I also like to see him putting the 13 or whoever his other competitor may be at a different time in the race in different spots and seeing how they react. James had that bad initial start from the lower line. Put him back down there and see if he struggles there again. Something to keep in your notebook for later.
Yes, we are going to see the field going through turns 3 and 4, so we are about to get this race back green. It's going to be J.D. Laird in the JDR graphics machine. Leading the field back into the iRacing restart zone. James Lorello to his outside. Shane Ewing on the inside, row 2. Tom Bourne outside. And we are green flag once again. A good start for James Lorello. A better start for J.D. Laird, though, as once again, by the time they get into turn number 1, Laird well clear for that race lead. The battle for third place intense between Shane Ewing in the 32 and Tom Bourne in the 16. Ewing able to clear, and that opens the door for Shane Terrian up the inside. As there goes Ewing, an aggressive dive up the inside of James Lorello. And we talk about get the positions now. Everybody's right here. You saw an aggressive move from Shane Ewing, side by side with Lorello into 1.
Well, I think of Shane Ewing, I think consistency. I don't think of this aggression, but I love to see it out of that 32 car right now, and he's going to be able to clear James. I don't know if James is going to try a little bit of a crossover here, but everyone from front to back in this field are out there giving it all they have and getting as many spots, and something you love to see, because other than that one wreck we just had, these guys are racing with respect, and they're making it work. And this track gets narrow at times, especially when they're fanned out 3 or 4 wide.
The 32 able to clear James Lorello for the second place position. Meanwhile, back in the pack, John Cannizzaro making some move here in the opening laps. He's now up into 6th place, but Matthew Rodriguez fighting hard up the inside lane. Matthew Rodriguez's car reminds me a lot of a car Martin Truex Jr. ran in the Cup Series that I really liked quite a while ago. I forget who the primary sponsor was on that car. I think it was Auto Owners Insurance. It was a beautiful car. The Matthew Rodriguez, similar color scheme. I really like that race car. You see John Cannizzaro get clear of those drivers behind him already. Look at that, Garrett, fighting to the outside of Tom Bourne here through the middle of turns 1 and 2. That's similar kind of to what we saw Alonso Chicano try to do, except it was more to the inside, so it was a little less dangerous. Just shot to his outside at mid-corner. John Cannizzaro able to clear that pass. A beautiful move, and he's going to try and cross over Shane Terrian. Not going to be able to do it, though.
Wild Child is out there making moves again. It's great to watch. And he's, I don't know. I gotta give him credit, and I really hate to do it, but he's really impressing me, coming in pretty much cold to this series, cold to this season, and being as competitive as he is in the top 4 right now, and has his sights set on that top 3, and he's making it look pretty easy, passing a lot of talented drivers out there.
Yeah, John Cannizzaro certainly very fast on the short run. He's running times that rival your race leader J.D. Laird on his short run pace, moving his way up through, I believe, 4 or 5 positions here since the restart. Speaking of J.D. Laird, it is what you would expect. He is comfortably in the race lead, a second back to the 32 of Shane Ewing, who runs in second. Lorello about a half second behind Ewing. Same thing back to Cannizzaro and back to Terrian. And that is where you continue to see battles going on. The 16 of Tom Bourne, he's falling through the field now. This is very contrary to what we saw in the opening runs of this race from the 16 of Tom Bourne. Just got passed by the 61 of Bronson Stafford, who's making his first start this season, I believe. And also the one of Jason Gracias gets around the 16. So Tom Bourne slipping through the field here, and I wonder if that's him just being more patient, trying to extend the long run speed like I kind of talked about. But there's a difference between waiting back too long and losing too much track position. You don't want to do that either.
No, I think ideally, Mitchell, you'd want to be somewhere around the top 5 right now if you were saving your tires. This is a free fall to an extent for the 16, and it's possible that car just, he likes being out in clean air, and now that he's in this dirty air, it's just not handling the way he wants it to. As I'm continually watching that number 1 of Jason Gracias and his impressive run in that top lane. He's the one that's really committed to it out there from what I've been watching.
Battle as well for the 3rd place. Surprise, surprise, John Cannizzaro has caught up to James Lorello, trying to work to the outside of the number 13. Can't do it there. Going to dive to the inside into turn number 3. Cannizzaro and that Stay Tuned Sports machine going places here in the opening laps of this run, but Lorello really carries the momentum in the outside lane, and he is going to stay in front of Cannizzaro for the time being. And these two in their battling have also run down Shane Ewing, that 32, right out the front window of James Lorello. So this could be a 3-car battle for second place in not too long. And right behind him, we were looking at Shane Terrian and Jason Gracia still going at it there for the 5th place position. And Terrian, he's trying to build up the momentum. He's going to get to the outside of Cannizzaro. That was an aggressive move. Good heads up by John Cannizzaro to not go all the way to the wall like you normally would, and see that that 38 was committing to that momentum. And that moves Terrian up into the 4th position.
Yeah, Terrian, very talented driver. Raced with him a little bit, especially super speedway stuff, and it's great to have these guys in the league. I gotta give credit to Matthew Rodriguez, the FRN guys, the Radius Racing. I think the word of mouth is spreading, and they're getting these guys to show up. They're no strangers to Total Nonstop Racing, but they don't race here full time. And I keep saying these guys just make our league better. Iron sharpens iron, as they say, and just the deeper we can make this field, the better. And you see it from top to bottom here. We have a tremendous battle here for second place.
There was almost contact into that corner between James Lorello and Shane Ewing. They came very close to touching bumpers. And the 38 of Terrian runs right up behind Lorello, side by side through the corner. James Lorello on the outside, Shane Terrian on the inside, and Lorello gonna carry the momentum around the outside lane and get clear of the 32 of Ewing. And now Shane Terrian. It's a Shane on the inside, a Shane on the outside here. Terrian trying to fight through, carry the momentum just like Lorello did, and he is going to complete that pass. So Shane Ewing drops from 2nd to 4th in just a matter of a lap. Trying to fight back on the inside lane, though. Jason Gracias continues to run the outside, and coming back through the field, Tom Bourne in the 16, now back up into the 6th position.
Yeah, 16 car heard us talking about him. He said, maybe I was sandbagging a little bit. I'm going to get myself back in this battle here inside the top 5. And that's good to see. I'd hate to see someone who had such good speed early on falling back. And I think these guys are so evenly matched here in this group, Mitchell, that one lift, one loss of momentum because the guy in front of you takes your line, and you're going to lose multiple spots, and then you're going to go to the back of this group, and you're going to have to fight your way back forward, almost like a super speedway racing. But that's not what's happening out there. But to an extent, that momentum being killed is really hurting these guys. And Jason Gracias right now is pinched up behind James Lorello, and there's really nowhere to go and no clean air on the nose of that race car.
James Lorello taking the line that Jason Gracias wants to be running right now. And I think that's smart racing by James. I would hold that outside lane and make Jason go to the inside, because we've seen that one running the wall the whole time. As we go 3 wide for just a moment, Shane Ewing pulled out of it in the inside lane. Tom Bourne looking up the inside of Jason Gracias. But James Lorello, like I was saying, you want to make Jason go where he hasn't gone really for the most part today, and that is to the inside lane, because he doesn't know exactly how his car's going to handle down there. He's been very committed to the outside lane, and he's gotten through the field doing it, but now you're at the point you're with the fastest drivers on track. And James Lorello, he's a crafty racer. We know that from him, and you see him pulling back out away from the one now. That's because he's taking that air away from Jason Gracias.
James Lorello is a crafty race car driver, talented race car driver, and he's also very hard to pass. I've had situations, and this is more of a reflection on me, where I'm on 15, 20 lap fresher tires, and I struggle to get past James Lorello because that's how good he is, and how good he is at also holding his position on the racetrack and making it difficult to pass him out there for track position. And he and Jason Gracias, no strangers to racing with each other, and it seems like right now they're content mirroring each other, following that 38.
The field kind of starting to migrate up into the outside lane. As I say that, James Lorello jumps to the inside of Shane Terrian. Battle for the 2nd place position back on. We've seen most of the passes this run be made in that outside lane. Can Lorello get the inside to work? Doesn't look like it. Has to duck back into the outside, and there goes Gracias up the inside of the 13 of Lorello. Can he get the pass done? Grossi is tightening up through the center, has to slide back up, and Lorello going to carry a lot of momentum. Grossi stays up high to side draft a little bit on that 13, and this allows Shane Terrian to pull out just a little bit more as JD Laird pulls out now to a 2-second lead over this group of drivers you see here. So JD continuing to pick up where he left off last week and dominate this race.
Yeah, JD's dominating, and don't worry, JD, we're not forgetting about you, but it's old news at this point. You out front by a comfortable lead. These guys behind you are having a absolute blast, and I can only imagine, Mitchell, if we were in the field, we'd be having fun, because it looks like these guys can just race with each other, and there's no fear of really wrecking each other. These guys, they know what the track is, how it's handling, how their cars are handling, and they're able to put these cars from the bottom lane to the top lane with respect to each other, and that's what you love to see as a racing league.
We're looking at a great battle for the 7th place position. Bronson Stafford got into the wall last time by. You saw it there on your screen. Philip Scott going to work around him. Matthew Rodriguez trying to go up the inside lane there. Stacked 2 by 2, and now it's 3 wide, almost 4 wide. John Cannizzaro, Wild Child, makes it 4 wide. Oh, and there's contact. Bustos up into Cannizzaro. They're wrecking hard into turn 1. Caution flag flies. Little bit too crazy. 4 wide, Garrett. Wow, that was great racing. Unfortunately, though, not everybody able to keep it straight, and we go back under caution.
Back under yellow, we're just talking about great racing and no consequences. Well, that goes out the window when you're pushing 4 wide here at Kansas. Rodriguez got a little squirrely. Looked like he went to correct it, and Jake was just underneath him in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm sure we're going to take another look at this. Mitchell, you can give your take on it.
Yeah, they were going 4 wide here. Going back is the exit of turn 4. Jake Bustos has a great run up the inside, so he's going to take it 3 wide. Cannizzaro looks in the middle. It's not there. He looks high, thinks better of it. But Jake Bustos just slides up the track a little more than 4 wide is going to let you do. And 4 wide doesn't really work here that well. By the time you get into turn 1, you've got to get to probably 3 wide safely. And unfortunately for Jake Bustos and John Cannizzaro, they're going to come out with the heaviest damage from this accident. Let's go on board with the 74 of Jake Bustos here first. See him running down the inside. He doesn't really even know he hit anybody. You can't even tell from his onboard, but then Rodriguez tries to correct it and comebacks and hooks the 74. Also grab, because I love onboard cameras, we'll go on board with John Cannizzaro. See what the Wild Child was up to down the front straightaway. This is off of turn 4. You see John, the gap opens up there. Very small gap, and then it closes. He looks high, but by that point his momentum isn't quite there. And he's wrecked before he even knows it's happening. That's just the fast-paced racing. These drivers are getting up over 190 miles an hour by the time they get into these corners. It's very, very small incident that's going to bring out the caution, but that's just, those are the margins for errors, Garrett. They're so small at this speed that these Grand National Series cars run at, and that's just a case of a little bit too aggressive, and I came back to bite some drivers there.
Yeah, let me apologize to Matt Rodriguez. I said he was trying to save it. He was trying to save it because he got contact, which I didn't see at the initial look. So just 4 guys out there battling for position. You know, it's over halfway here in the race, and I think that's one of those incidents that either from a competitor standpoint or from my league administrator perspective, I think you could live with that. Guys out there racing hard, racing clean for the most part for 60 laps into a race and just going 4 wide, and that happens. I don't think you expect 4 wide to last all that long. So I think we had some pit stops here. JD Laird still out in front. Mitchell?
Yeah, JD Laird maintains the race lead through the pit cycle. I don't actually know who your Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award was. I don't know if there was one, because everybody I'm aware of that was lapped is in the garage out of the race. But either way, we want to thank Tabletop Trio Podcast for sponsoring tonight's Lucky Dog Award. You can check them out, link down in the video description. I believe they're on air Wednesday nights. And check out the Tabletop Trio podcast, talk about anything you can do on top of the table.
Well, I was talking to Steven Doziak before the race, who's our webcam guy, and he was talking about some crazy things he does on top of the table. But we can't discuss those on YouTube, Mitchell, because I have too much respect for WRN and you. But I don't want to even cut to his in-car in his room feed right now, Mitchell. Just take my word for it that those may have learned a thing or two from the Tabletop Trio boys.
I'll take your word for it. We'll revisit that at some point, probably, as long as he keeps it in the race. See JD Laird, we don't see too much of that. Warming up the tires, getting the marbles off of them. We don't see that much in iRacing. We've all kind of gotten away from doing that like they do in NASCAR. 'Cause I don't know that it does what it does in NASCAR, but hey, it's fun to see drivers swerving all over the place. Your starting order, or at least the top bit of your starting order for this restart: JD Laird, race leader, goes back to the inside lane. Shane Terrian in second on the outside. Row number 2 is Jason Gracias, James Lorello. Row number 3, the inside, is Tom Bourne and Philip Scott in the 99. 7th and 8th, Shane Ewing, Bill Edwards, and rounding out your top 10, David Durand in the 24 and Robert Kenny in the 34. Robert Kenny was a recipient of one of those Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Awards, and now he is back inside the top 10, so look at that. They do work out pretty nicely.
Yeah, absolutely, Mitchell, and that's the idea, is that mulligan, that fresh start. You go a lap down early, you correct your mistake or the issue you have, and you're back in contention by the end of this race. But I like to see Jason Gracias here, sneaking up to that back bumper, that 46 of JD Laird. These guys had some battles last season. Jason was pretty dominant when JD wasn't around, so not keep it good. I'm starting to stumble over my words here, Mitchell, but it's a good sign for the number 1 car and the number 1 fans that he's up this close to JD at this point in the race.
Yeah, Jason Gracias, the highest he has been throughout the race, now up into second place as he gets around the number 38 of Shane Terrian for the second place position. Side by side, James Lorello and the 16 of Tom Bourne. That's for 4th place. Gracias goes back up into the outside lane. Lorello also still up in the outside. They're not letting JD Laird run away this run, though. Jason Gracias trying to fight to the outside of the 46. Can he do it into turn number 1? I think JD with the nose in front, but if Gracias keeps that momentum up, he could get to his outside, and he will. Down the back straightaway, Jason Gracias. This is the first time we have seen JD Laird challenge for the lead in quite a while. But Jason Gracias in the outside, he is going to clear that pass and move himself up into the race lead. Jason Gracias started 21st today, and now he is your race leader on lap 65.
Very impressive out of my old friend Jason Gracias, but not unexpected. He's out there to have fun, pass cars, and when you pass JD Laird, you know you accomplished something. So Jason's very good at saving his tires. I'm going to see if he could get a little bit of a gap here between him and the 46 and save some tires, and just in case this thing goes pretty much green to the end, as we're looking at a battle here between James Lorello and Shane Ewing, guys with speed so far as well.
Yep, those two were side by side. Shane Ewing going to get around James Lorello. That moves Ewing up into the 5th place position. Battle for 2nd place, Shane Terrian and JD Laird. Terrian gets around Laird, and he's now going to try and track down Jason Gracias in the outside lane. JD Laird now actually coming under fire from Tom Bourne. This is deja vu from the start of the race, except it's not for the race lead. It's for the 3rd place position right now. Tom Bourne trying to work up the inside of JD Laird. Shane Ewing right behind these two. Jason Gracias continues to commit to that outside lane. When you run the same line all race long, by this point you've got a very good feel for it, and I think that's the case for Jason Gracias. He can be fast anywhere he wants to run on this racetrack. We see that time and time again from Gracias, but he's really got that car on rails in the outside lane right now.
Yeah, Jason doesn't make mistakes, and he's very consistent. So if he's hitting his marks, he's going to be tough to beat. And he's keeping that number 1 car up there on the top lane, and he has nobody to worry about in front of him to stall his momentum. But It looks like his friends are creeping back up here into the picture. It's not going to be so easy as the 38. As Shane is looking to his inside.
It was a very nice move from Shane Terry, and he was running up in the outside lane, then ducked all the way back down to that white line, got very straight off the corner exit, and that allows him to get side by side with your race leader, Jason Gracias. And in fact, he led that lap, had the nose in front when they crossed the start-finish line. Can Terrian complete the pass up the inside? Gonna try and slide up? No. Has to check up out of it, and that is going to let Jason Gracias get a surge of momentum back into 3. Still side by side, though. Between your top 2 behind him as well, J.D. Laird, Tom Bourne, again fighting for the 3rd place position. And Shane Ewing is loving what he's seeing. Both these drivers side by side. Gracias with the edge gets back to the lead that lap, but Shane Terrian not wanting to go anywhere on the inside lane. Bourne completes the pass on Laird for 3rd place. And Gracias able to get back out in front, clear of Shane Terrian, and the 16 had to check up. Tom Bourne carried a little more momentum than Shane Terrian wanted to into the outside lane, and that cost the 16 some momentum, and you see him coming back under fire from J.D. Laird.
Mitchell, all these guys racing side by side. They slow each other down, and then you get so much of a run and so much momentum catching them. But what can you do with it if they block both lanes that you want to run? And that's what you see happening here. You see JD dropping back a little bit. You see the 16 creeping up. It's all about using that run and not getting stuck behind somebody in that dirty air. So this is good for WRN, Mitchell. You could use this as a highlight package so far. These guys are putting on an absolute show, and you just absolutely love to see it.
We kind of expected that from Kansas coming in. This track, perfect for multi-groove racing. Talked about it in the pre-race show, and you're seeing that right now. Drivers able to make a bunch of different lines work, stay side by side multiple laps, and you're exactly right. These Total Nonstop Racing drivers putting on a fantastic show for us here tonight at Kansas. That 38, he looked to be falling back just for a minute, but Shane Terrian, he's starting to creep closer to the bumper of James Lorello. The fastest car on the track right now is Tom Bourne in the 16, just barely faster than Shane Terrian. They're both running down Jason Gracias in the race lead. I'm surprised J.D. Laird has kind of fallen back from these two a little bit. Maybe he's laying off and saving some tires. He's also still, as Gracias has been committed to the outside lane, J.D. Laird has been committed to the inside lane all race long, and he's still sticking to it, even as the field has kind of migrated more toward the high line as the race has gone on.
If I see J.D. Laird running the bottom lane, Mitchell, you know what I'm doing? I'm running the bottom lane. I see J.D. Laird scrubbing his tires before the restart. I'm scrubbing my tires. That's how much faith I have in J.D., but these guys up ahead of him are showing that they are here to stay, and they are absolutely in contention to win this race. Did Gracias get a little bit of the wall there, Mitchell?
I don't know if he got the wall. He certainly got a little bit tight on corner exit, but he's still able to get clear of Shane Terrian. Definitely wasn't the best exit to turns number 1 and 2 that Gracias would have wanted, and you see the slight difference in lines. Jason Gracias goes more for a stable curve. He runs basically the same distance from the wall through the entire corner, but Shane Terrian, he enters just a little bit higher, and then he ducks down a little bit lower. You see him almost a car length down further the racetrack than Jason Gracias runs, so it's different ways to run the outside lane. Gracias is trying to just be smooth and consistent. Terrian's trying to get a straighter exit and get the throttle down quicker, and you see him again just tries to duck down, and that's what's allowed him to get the runs on Jason Gracias. And J.D. Laird, another example of, I think he was listening to us, because Eric starts to crawl back up, and the 16 of Tom Bourne trying to get back to the inside to cover it off and take the air off of J.D. Laird, but Laird now looking to the outside. He is starting to charge back up through the field.
Yeah, I didn't expect that 46 of J.D. Laird to stick around in 4th place very long, and he's already looking to make his move back to the front. But Jason Gracias doing a tremendous job from the lead, making everyone work to try to pass him. The harder you make them work, the more they use their tires, and the more of an advantage you will have before the end of the race. So Jason's doing a tremendous job, and again, I'll say it, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, plus 20 positions so far in this race for Jason Gracias as we are approaching 20 laps to go in this one. JD Laird still trying to work behind the 16 of Tom Bourne. Bourne gets really tight through the center of the corner, and that opens the door for JD Laird to get to his inside, which was exactly what Tom Bourne was trying to prevent. Into turn 3 and 4, though, JD Laird working up the inside of Tom Bourne. He is going to complete that pass, so move JD Laird now into 3rd place. Tom Bourne trying to fight back on the inside. We'll see if he can make it work, but his car seems to like the outside lane a lot more. He gets really tight through the center of these corners, and JD going down the track to try and take some of the air off him, get him loose. He's able to stick with JD Laird, though. These front 4 have pulled away 2 seconds from Shane Ewing in 5th place, so the fastest cars have found their way to the front with 21 laps to go.
And Mitchell, we're seeing them run 4 different lanes pretty much out there, and then JD used a lane that we hadn't seen him use to make the pass there and put the 16 in the position that he wasn't used to. But you have Gracias sticking to the top. We have Shane Terrian diamonding the corner a little bit. JD pretty much bottom feeding, and the 16 back up towards the wall, even though they reversed it. So it just proves that Kansas is one of those tracks that drivers love to come to because it's racy all over the place. You could make your own line if you don't like one of the ones that's provided for you. And again, it's a highlight package out there.
Go on board. We rode on board with JD Laird, and you see the difference. This is Jason Gracias, and look at how close he gets to the wall through the corner, right up on the wall. We'll look at the camera like this through turns 3 and 4. You can see just how close that number 1 gets. That's the Kyle Larson line, as we call it in NASCAR, just inches off of the outside wall, but he's been able to do that 80 laps, and he continues to make it work in that 1 car.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any real fall off from the number 1. He's not using up his stuff. I mean, these guys aren't. They get close to him, but they're not able to pass him. So he must be finding that balance of speed and tire management at this stage. And we're less than 20 to go. And Mitchell, I know we've been focused on these top 4. I just want to give a shout out to a couple of guys running the top 10. Philip Scott, the 99 National Ninja League machine, is looking like Gracias got a little bit of the wall. And Floppy is also in the top 10, able to rebound from that bad starting position. Good battle there between the 99 and Shane Ewing and Floppy. Robert Kenny also still in the top 10. Just guys, we won't forget about you just because you're not running in the top 4. Just we've had such great battles between those guys that we wanted to highlight them. But Freeman also competitive race. Duran's been quiet, but solid run so far. So keep at it, guys.
And we'll focus up on this battle for the race lead, but we will take you through the field so you know where your favorite driver is running with just over 15 laps to go. Jason Gracias, your race leader. JD Laird now runs in 2nd. He makes the pass on Shane Terrian. Terrian now falls to 3rd. Tom Bourne in 4th. Philip Scott just got around Shane Ewing for 5th place. You see the battle here between the 38-16 now. In 7th is James Lorello. 8th is Mike Floppy Tellier. 9th place, Robert Kinney. And in 10th, David Durand. Jason Freeman runs in 11th. Bill Edwards in 12th. Vincent Valvano 13th. Stephen Doziak Jr. 14th. Matthew Rodriguez in 15th. Jason Schue 16th. Paul Bilson runs in 17th. And Robert Tripp, the last car on the lead lap, in 18th. 1 lap down are Jamar Dumas and Bob Giaquinto. In the garage, Bronson Stafford, John Cannizzaro. After that wreck, Jake Bustos, Tristan Dougie Maher, and Alonso Chicano round out your 25 cars who took to the grid here tonight. And like you've been saying, Jason Gracias, he might have gotten the wall just once or twice, but there's no real damage on the right side of the car. So if he has, it's not been significant enough to really put any kind of damage on that race car, and he's still just as fast as he's been. Fastest car on track that time by. No real fall off. Oh, sorry, Garrett.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for you to finish, and then see, we gotta get used to working together. It's only our 4th race, but
yeah,
just wondering if you think Jason Gracias early on in this race was kind of suckering everyone in, not showing his true hand, and knowing after practice that he had something for JD and these other guys. And I'm not saying this race is over and Jason Gracias is going to win, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Jason shows his full hand, and I think he's learned that. He's a multiple-time champion and been like racing his pretty much whole life here. Maybe that's the thing, Mitchell. Maybe you don't show your hand in practice and kind of creep up on these guys, and so far so good for the #1 Max Graphics machine.
Yeah, Jason Gracias, he took him a little bit to run through the field. He got up relatively quickly, but I think it's partially he doesn't want to show his hand, but also he wanted to make sure that when he did get up to the front of the field here, he had a clean race car to go out and lead laps with, because 1.5 miles, aerodynamics are very important. You saw him, he had to get out of the throttle quite a bit. Oh, yellow flag, you're exactly right. And that gonna bunch this field back up. We'll go back and try and find this caution. Let's see if I can do a better job of it than I have in weeks past. I can. First try here. This is the battle we were looking at shortly ago. Jason Freeman, David Duran. Duran gets into the wall a little bit, but it's just coming back down a little bit too much and gets into Jason Freeman. Oh, look at Steven Doziak and Vincent Valvano just narrowly escaped that one. We'll go back on board. We'll go back on board with David Duran to show you that camera angle, but just got onto the wall, and your first instinct is to turn left and get off the wall, and he does that really well, but just a little bit too far to the left. Jason Freeman right there, and you see that was that was a hard impact for Jason Freeman especially, and it was a weird angle too that he hit. I'll show you again, but he got both ends of that rear bumper crumpled up in different places.
Two things working against him in this wreck, Mitchell. Jason Freeman to the inside lost some momentum to be able to clear that 24. Not as easy. You get tight on the bottom. You start pushing up a little bit, and you think you're going to be able to clear that slower car. But the 24 didn't lose as much momentum as you would expect there hitting the outside wall. And that replay shows it looks like he almost had a burst of speed there as the 20 of Jason Freeman was pushing up. And tough break for those guys, but that misfortune for those two competitors could be your fortune. Pit stops underway. If you have a good short run car, now might be your time to shine and take a bite out of this #1 of Jason Gracias, as we're taking a look at Bob, who might be getting his company's lucky dog here.
I thought it was Bob getting the lucky dog here. I would have thought he'd gone around the pace car by now. Instead, he chooses to be the pace car. But thank you to Tabletop Trio for sponsoring this season's Lucky Dog. Bob might be taking a wave around, and it could have potentially been Jamar Dumas. Though I thought he was on the lead lap. It might have also been Robert Tripp. There's a couple drivers, and it's my big flaw as a broadcaster. I always forget to look at who was the first car a lap down at the time of the caution, because usually more focused on finding the wreck. But that is something it will improve throughout the season, as it usually does. But Garrett, we're going to restart this race within 10 laps to go, and look at who's leading the race. None other than Mike Floppy Tellier.
Oh man, well, Mike's taking a shot, and we've seen what Mike will do to win a race this season, Mitchell, and that's anything and everything. So Mike's playing a little different strategy here, and I don't think it's going to pay off, but I've certainly been surprised before. But hey, do what the leaders don't do, and put that 47 out front and out on camera, get some love for your sponsors, and hope for the best there, Mitchell. And just don't feel bad about making a mistake or not knowing something, because I've only met one perfect person in broadcasting, and his name's Peter Short, and he's the GOAT.
So Mike Floppy Tellier is on 2 tires. I thought he had taken none initially when I saw him, but he is on 2 tires here. And he is going to have probably 7 or 8 laps to go. I don't hate the strategy call at all. And it's more than just getting yourself up to the front. I think he's got a very good shot to win on 2 tires. I've seen that strategy work against me. I've pulled the 2-tire strategy and won a race before. in my career. So I love the move from Mike Floppy Tellier. I'd probably have made the same move if I was inside the top 10, not having a bad night, but Mike Tellier's out here to win races. All these drivers are, and pace car lights go out. We're going to see if that 47 can hang on to it with 2 tires, but these drivers around him have been the cream of the crop all night long, so it's going to be, he's going to certainly have his hands full if he wants to hang on to this lead, but I love the strategy call from the 47 crew.
Yeah, I'll echo that, Mitchell. I'm just surprised he's taking the bottom lane here. I would think that maybe he'd want to take the top and keep that momentum up, but Mike's a better driver than I'll ever be, so I'm going to trust his judgment here. But just taking a look, Mitchell, these guys are all ready to feast here, especially these guys in the top 10. They think they can win this race, and these next 8 laps are going to be absolutely insane. So if you're home, and you should buckle yourself in the chair or on the couch, or get somebody to hold you down, because it's about to be a bumpy ride, I think.
Bob Giaquinto is still 1 lap down, so I don't believe he picked up the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award. Scoring-wise, the last car on the lead lap is Jason Freeman, but he was not a lap down at the caution, so that remains a mystery. But the pace car pulls off, 8 laps to go, restart, green flag, Tellier spins the tires on top of contact behind him from Shane Terrian. That's going to let J.D. Laird slip back out into the race lead, and Terrian, oh, he's tried to get to the inside of Tellier, turns the 47 around, somehow kept it straight, and we stay green flag.
Wow.
Shane Terrian was doing everything he could to get around the 2 tires on Mike Tellier because that really slowed him up. And he just made the move to the inside, made contact, because Mike's not going to let him have the inside lane. But unfortunately for Shane, that dropped him back several positions. He's now fighting with James Lorello for the 5th position. And J.D. Laird is comfortably back into the race lead. Tom Bourne runs 2nd to Jason Gracias in 3rd. Shane Ewing 4th, and then Shane Terrian rounds out your top 5. So the strategy, the 2-tire strategy, it ended up spreading out a bunch of your leaders, which you wouldn't necessarily expect to have happened, but it created a bunch of separation, and J.D. Laird holds a comfortable lead just 2 laps after the restart.
Yeah, that benefited J.D. immensely there. Floppy, it was a great call, 2 tires. You had to take a shot at it, but you don't know how bad you're going to spin the tires if you haven't put 2 tires on the vehicle or you haven't done it in a while, so that was a tough break for the 47, but he did an absolute tremendous job not taking a bunch of cars out with him. So props to Mike there for just being the wheelman that we all know he is.
Oh, caution flag back in the air. There's a wreck. Looks like Matthew Rodriguez is smoking down on the front straightaway. I don't know if that's where the caution was. Robert Tripp, I think, headed into the pits there. We'll take a look and see. No, it's a completely separate incident that's going to bring out the caution here. This is the 35 of Robert Tripp coming out of turn number 2. Just going to get a little bit high. Gets a piece of the wall, spins it down into the inside wall, and there is your caution with 5 laps to go. And just like that, that lead J.D. Laird had is completely diminished. And we are going to restart him once again.
Yeah, that's frustrating for obviously JD on front, but Robert Tripp is the guy who shows up every week, wants to run laps, wants to get better, is as much a member of good standing of the Total Nonstop Racing League as anyone. That's a tough break. You hate to see it happen deep in the field, but hey, that's why we're here. We're here to get better and learn every week, and Robert will be back at it in 2 weeks at Dover trying to do better, and that's a tough break for everyone, but we're all in the same playing field here. We're going to have a restart, and it's time to do it again. The best car is going to win this race, I still think, Mitchell.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. Mike Tellier, he's running 16th place now, and that was more because of the contact than the tires there. It just didn't go the way he wanted to, but I still love the call he made. There went Bob Giaquinto. This time, that's the wrong logo. That's also the wrong thing. There we go. 3rd time's the charm. Bob is the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award. Thank you to Tabletop Trio for sponsoring the Lucky Dog Award. this season. And make sure to check out the Tabletop Trio podcast on Twitch or wherever you get your podcasts. That will put Bob back onto the lead lap. Jason Freeman down pit road for repairs. David Durand as well. Robert Tripp went down pit road. He's actually probably still towing back after that incident. He is probably not going to get that 35 car onto the racetrack, though. I would imagine that's just too much heavy damage too late in the race. But this presents another interesting situation, Garrett, because J.D. Laird back out in the race lead, but this time there's nobody on a different tire strategy. It's just a straight shootout to the end, and we are going to get ourselves a green-white checkered finish here.
Yeah, green-white checker, first one of the season, and it's hard to say, Mitchell, who really has the advantage here. If John Cannizzaro was in the field, I would say this would be perfect for someone like him that likes to drive like a maniac and burn his tires up. But we have these professional drivers out front who are good at tire management and being consistent. Well, you kind of throw that out the window here on a green-white checker. It's going to be about giving it all you have here and going where they're not and making passes that you might not be comfortable making had it been a different time in the race. So I expect JD to have an advantage, get a good restart, but these guys aren't going to let him get out of their sights, especially with this checkered flag so close and within their grasp.
And these drivers ran about 6 laps on their tires before that caution came out, so they don't have to worry about restarting on cold tires. These tires have heat in them. They're worn just a little bit, so they're going to have the grip they want when they go back green flag racing. You've got, I think, key thing here, you got Jason Gracias in third. He's going to be stuck on the inside lane, which we know where he doesn't want to be. We haven't seen much of Shane Ewing, but we've seen a lot of good short run speed from him. He's been up inside the top 5 a lot. And so I'd expect this 32 to get pretty aggressive here. Of course, you've got Tom Bourne in the 16, JD Laird in the 46. These two were the fastest early in the race, and we know both of them have a lot of short run speed. It's just going to be a shootout, and the best driver's going to bring it home. There's nothing more to say. So just like you said last time, Garrett, everybody at home, get ready, because this is going to be one heck of a finish here to the NSRA Stay Tuned Sport Truck Series 150.
You get this type of action in TNR, you'll get this type of action in SRA, and it's only fitting that we're able to do this with all eyes on both our leagues at this point. So, tremendous drivers here up front. I'm expecting a good, clean race to the finish. I hope that's not famous last words, but good luck, everyone on track and those watching at home rooting for your favorite drivers. It's go time, it's show time, and we're here to bring you all the action here. This green-white checkered should be a blast.
And if there's anyone unfamiliar with a green-white checkered, it's a 2-lap race. If the caution comes out before they take the white flag, we're going to re-rack it, do it again. But once they take the white flag, they're racing to the finish. So getting to 1 to go, we'll see if they can get there into the restart zone. Green flag in the air. Tom Bourne did not get going at all up the inside lane, and that allows J.D. Laird to really extend out a lead. Neither did Shane Ewing. That outside lane didn't get going either, and J.D. Laird loves that out front. He's stretched out to quite the lead, but these drivers are going to do all they can to run him back. Keep your eye on Tom Bourne. We know he's fast short run. He ran JD down earlier. Shane Ewing stacking up the high line. Jason Gracias right behind him. Gracias gets turned. Will the caution flag come out? Yes, it will. They did not get back to the line. The caution flag flies, and we are going to do it all over again, Garrett.
Oh, wow, Mitchell. If they didn't think they got their money's worth on the first green-white checker, we have a possibility of 3 green-white checkers here in the Total Nonstop Racing League. So this will be number 2 as we're going to take a look at the number 1 of Jason Gracias, who was one of the favorites to win this race, shown by that domination of the middle to later portion of this race. And this looks like he got hooked there by the 13 of James Lorello, but we're at the stage, Mitchell, where nobody's really going to lift out there and cut you a break here on the green-white checker.
And that is what we would call a classic racing incident. There's not much more to say about it than that. James Lorello, he's in here racing hard on board with Lorello. Gracias, I think Gracias came down the track a little bit, maybe thought about trying to get under Shane Ewing, and it just hooked him around on the front straightaway. Nothing either of those drivers can do differently. That's just aggressive overtime racing here in the Total Nonstop Racing League. But Gracias was so fast all day long that he's in the pit still from that one. And he's rolling off now, so he did stay on the lead lap, but track position wise, he's going to be 18th when he gets back out on track. So not at all what Jason Gracias wanted to have happen there.
No, that's for sure. Mitchell and Jason's here to, like we said earlier, pass cars, have fun, and he was here to win a race. I don't know if he's going to be able to run the full season, but a lot of these guys aren't. But the points day isn't great when you go from running the top 5 to 18th, but his loss is a gain for a lot of these guys, able to move up another spot, get another shot at this restart. And it's crazy, Mitchell. And it's not really that crazy because JD's so talented, but these guys have nothing for that 46 on these restarts. What if you're behind JD or alongside him here? What's your mentality? How are you guessing and learning and trying to beat him to the line, because whatever you're doing so far isn't working?
It's so difficult because he's just so good at timing these restarts to where nobody else can really anticipate it. And that's the key, is just anticipating when your competition's going to go. So if you're JD Laird, you want to do something completely different from what you just did. If you started as soon as you hit the restart zone, go when you're almost out of the restart zone. You want to keep these guys around you guessing, and it's all about reaction time, really. If you're the drivers around him, you've got to be watching. If you're Tom Bourne in the 16, you've got to be looking out whichever side of the car JD's on, and as soon as you see that 46 go, you hit the gas and accelerate. And it's just tough because JD's been so good on restarts. I was really surprised, though, at that point in the race, nobody got the start they really needed to go challenge him, and maybe they've learned from it here. I know there's a lot of nerves right now in these drivers, too, because over time, this is the most pressure you've had on a restart all day long. Because you know that race win is just right there, and all you've got to do is pass that 46, but that's a lot easier said than done.
A lot easier said than done, and I'm certainly not expecting the 46 of JD Laird to make a mistake out there. But if I'm the 16, the 32, and these guys up near the front, 13, 38, I'm putting my number one best restart I've ever had in my life in my mind right now, Mitchell. I am, no matter what it takes, I'm having that best restart. If it means I accidentally jump the start, so be it. I'm going for the win. You have to do it, Mitchell. You just can't be this close and let that 46 get out in front of you to the point where you're not going to be able to pass him. Like you said, it's easier said than done. It's difficult enough to pass him. Don't put yourself in a bind. Give it all you have and let the consequences be what they are.
I have to do my shameless plug, too. If you've enjoyed the racing you see here tonight, we've got TNR every Monday night here, with the exception of a couple off weeks, which I believe next week does happen to be one, I'm pretty sure. But make sure to hit that like button if you've enjoyed the race, and hit that red subscribe button to see every time we go live with Total Nonstop Racing. It helps everybody out here, and it lets you know when there's more great racing going on here in the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. But Garrett, it is time to do it all over again. JD Laird takes the outside lane this time. That goes into do something different than you did. We've seen him do it a couple of times, but now you stick the 16. He's in the inside lane, and can he get it going? We'll have to see. Pace car pulls out attempt number 2 at the overtime restart here. JD Laird on the throttle. Shane Ewing does not get going. Lorello spins around. Caution flag out. Jason Gracias nowhere to go. And we are going to do it all over again.
Well, Mitchell, I'm kind of glad I'm not in their administrative chat right now, because this is certainly turning into a mess on these restarts. But I think it's just guys, like we said, giving it all in their restarts, tires being what they are, and tire spin, and guys not going, and then got turned, and poor Gracias here, nowhere to go. And I was just going to say, Bill Edwards creeping up near the top 5. We got some new players in this, and this is our last attempt here, Mitchell, at the green white checker. So that's it. If this happens again, it's going to be all said and done. But one more look here, and I'll let you handle this one.
Yeah, Shane Ewing, he's just a lot further up the track than you would anticipate, and James Lorello did nothing wrong there in that situation. He ran exactly where you would run, and just the 32 was a lot further up the track than you would expect from him. And so, unfortunately for James and also Jason Gracias, who is now taking it to the garage here tonight, their nights both seem to be done. And I don't know what exactly is... I think we're being slow for the pace car. Yeah, that's what's happening. The pace car is being very slow, and now everybody's going to get cycled back up to it. So that kind of threw off scoring a little bit, but you said it, Bill Edwards. We have not seen him up here in the top 5 really tonight, and that's unexpected from a driver who's been so fast every race this season. Bill Edwards up into 4th place now. He is very much in contention for this race. Philip Scott's creeped his way up into 6th. Matthew Rodriguez is 7th. We have not talked all night long about Paul Bilson. He's kind of been floating around the top 10, top 15, but he is now up into 8th place.
Yeah, great run for Paul and Doze in 9th, Vinny in 10th. These guys have hung in there all night long, and now when it's the pay window time, they're up here with a solid top 10 finish. But Paul Bilson, I think he was involved in an incident last week, so this is a really good rebound. And look at Doze. Does he have a bead of sweat on him? How's he looking in there in his TNR shirt? He didn't.
Looks
he didn't take the shirt off, which is a good thing, I guess, for our viewers. But attaboy, Doze, bring it home. We want to see that top 10 for all your lady friends. And there's got to be a fat chick in that room somewhere.
I think you saw a little smile on him there. I don't know if he's listening to us or not, but you'd like to think. Yeah, a lot of drivers here up inside. Like you said, we haven't seen a lot of these guys here tonight. Mike Tellier, he's starting to work his way back up as well. He's running in 11th right now. The 34 of Robert Kinney is down pit road. I don't know why he's down pit road, but he finds himself 1 lap down. We've not had a tabletop trio lucky dog on the last 2 cautions. Everybody's been up on the lead lap. That now changes with Robert Kinney down pit road 1 lap down, but JD Laird, once again that time, he got a good restart, Garrett. So, once again, you gotta find something different to do if you're all those guys around him to get the jump. I mean, you could even... I hate to say it, you can just go and hope he goes at the same time, and if he doesn't, try and slow it up and then get back to... There's stuff you can do, but JD has just timed it perfectly here, that it's hard to play games with him because he's just so good at playing the restart games. And he's not, I don't say that he's doing anything dirty. He's just been so good at getting jumps on the restarts and catching everybody when they don't expect him to get going.
Absolutely right, Mitchell, and JD's earning this win, and not that he doesn't earn other wins, but just because he's doing so many different things out there in these restarts and not letting these guys get a breather, get any advantage on him, and just being that excellent driver we know he is. It's incredible to see. It's throughout the field, these guys racking them up, giving it their all on these restarts. And with the part I love, and we just touched on it with Doze and Vinny and them and Bilson in the top 10, these guys that are new to this front pack, and they have a shot, and all it's going to take is somebody to have 1 bad restart, or just 2 leaders to get side by side and push up into each other, and Bill Edwards is going to win the race, or something crazy could happen, and that's why I love these green-white checkers. And I'm sure JD's not loving them right now, but for everyone else, the fans, the broadcasters, it's truly something that separates, I think, NASCAR as a sport.
Yeah, if you're JD Laird, you've wanted this to go green from way before we started getting the cautions here late in the race. But you talked about it after we got that last caution. This is the last overtime we're going to get. So if the caution comes out before the white flag gets taken, that's it. The finishing order is locked in at the time of the caution. If we take the white flag again, we're racing to the checkered flag. So this is it. You still need to be aggressive, but if you're any of these guys up at the front of the pack, you can't be so aggressive you take each other out, because you need green flag laps to get in front of JD Laird. And they're getting into the ice racing restart zone once again. Laird gets going, and he gets going again. A great restart for JD Laird. Tom Bourne able to get clear for second. He had to do that. He's got to now settle in and run his way back to the 46, and I think he's capable of doing it. I said that before, but he can't waste any time. They're wrecking a little bit further back in the pack. We'll see if it stays green, and we're going to keep the cameras here.
Well, Mitchell, that's a run. That 16. He's given it all. Is all. You said he has the potential to get there, and it looks like he's going to not let that 46 have this win too easily, as they're like 5 wide back in the pack. But I don't even know where to put the camera, Mitchell.
White flag is in the air. This is the final lap of the race, and J.D. Laird, oh, Tom Bourne pushed it a little bit too hard. He got hard into the wall, and I think that is going to do it for J.D. Laird. He takes it through 3 and 4 for the final time. J.D. Laird, we started back-to-back wins for Mike Tellier. Now it is going to be back-to-back wins for J.D. Laird. He wins the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150 at Kansas. And Shane Ewing able to get around Tom Bourne for second place as well. That was a good finish between those two. We're going to dial that back up on our replay and watch that finish coming to the line.
Yeah, big time move there by Tom Bourne, going for it all. The win, ended up hitting the wall, gave Shane the opportunity to get underneath him and have a full finish essentially for second place. Great run for those guys. Looks like Philip Scott got up into the 4th position, and like I said, some new players at the end of the game, but J.D. Laird just mastered the restarts so far this season, and definitely tonight here at Kansas.
That's what separated JD from the field here in this late portion of the race. He just got such a good jump on the restarts. Nobody was able to keep up with him. And you saw Tom Bourne, he had to push too hard to try and catch the 46. He is going to burn it down. And we are going to come back in just a moment with some post-race interviews with Tom Bourne, Shane Ewing, and your race winner, JD Laird. Welcome back to the World Racing Network post-race show for the TNR Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. It was the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150, and it was J.D. Laird picking up another race win here tonight. We are going to kick off post-race interviews with third-place finisher Tom Bourne. It was a great race for you here tonight. Saw you up front quite a bit, and thought maybe you'd get JD there at the end, but just pushed it a little bit too hard out of that final corner. But take us through your mentality through all those final restarts.
Yeah, the car was fast all night. It just took a lot to pass, unfortunately. The final restarts were just detrimental to me and my rhythm. Whatever I was trying to do to catch JD just went out the window. I was actually talking to him right before you guys pulled me up, and he wasn't a fan of him either. But just I couldn't time a restart whatsoever. I felt like if I timed it a little better, then I would have possibly been closer to him, and I wouldn't have had to try and make it stick in one on the white flag. But overall, a third place, I can't really complain about it. Fast car, like I said, all race long, and just a big solid run.
It was definitely a really good run for you here tonight. How did the track feel? Because we saw drivers all over the place. Where were you kind of liking to run, and how difficult was it to manage the tires through a run here tonight?
So I'm not good at saving tires in the Xfinity car at all, and I wanted to be right up against the wall. I felt I had the most speed up there, and I was putting down the best lap times that I could. But unfortunately, as I learned in the first part of the race, it was just eating up the tires constantly. So um, around the bottom was the way to be to save tires, but to go fast, it was around the top. And I was searching all race. I was up top, down on the bottom, in the middle, um, and ultimately it was just like who. It really didn't matter where you were running. It was just a matter of saving tires and how fast you were going.
Certainly is a challenging track for us here, but you managed to put that 16 in a great position here toward the end of the race. Going back to that last restart again, what else could you have done? Maybe was it just timing better, you kind of said. Is there anything else you could have done to maybe put yourself in a better position to get around that 46 for the race win?
Uh, like you said, the timing could have been better. I that was the closest I was on a restart to him over the past four cautions. Um, following him into one, I probably could have done. I was kind of arcing that corner where I was just entering high and then kind of middle to high off, and I felt like I could have gotten a run on him, especially on new tires. But overall, there really wasn't much I could have done except being closer to him on the restart.
This is the first time we've seen you this season. Can we expect to see more of you here in our upcoming races?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun racing. I got to get better in the Xfinity car, and I feel like this league is a good um, point to where I can try and get better. There's a lot of good guys in here I've raced with for many, many years. And, shout out to them and shout out to the guys putting it on for bringing me here. And you'll see more of me during the races. During the season, I guarantee it.
Looking forward to it. Glad to have you with us here for the 2023 season. Next week we have an off week on Monday, but then we head to Dover 2 weeks from tonight. What are your thoughts going into a 1 mile racetrack and made of concrete instead of asphalt?
Ultimately, Dover's a tough track. If you don't hit the throttle right, it can get very loose off 2 and 4. With the bank straightaways and everything. Personally, I'm a big fan of Dover. I've always been fast there. Have at least a few league wins at Dover and whatever car they were running. Um, well, I'm excited for it. I took a look at the schedule. It looks pretty good. So I'm excited to see what goes forward with the car and the team, and hopefully we can get the 16 machine in victory lane.
A lot of good racing yet to come this season for sure. Before I let you go, Tom, give you a chance to give any shout outs you'd like to the people watching on WRN.
Yeah, first things first, I want to thank Sky Motorsports for putting together a fast car like always. We had a lot of guys throughout the field tonight. It's a shame that Shane didn't get up there to battle with me. He had a very fast car. Um, G Fuel, Ghost Energy, FRN, you guys for putting on an amazing broadcast. And my lovely fiance, Melissa, she's watching always and always my number one supporter. So yeah, and like I said, thanks to the league for having me here, and hopefully we'll make the season exciting.
Yep, thanks for stopping by and chatting with us here. Congratulations on third place, and we're looking forward to seeing more of you in the coming weeks.
Thanks, guys.
That was tonight's third place finisher, Tom Bourne, and I believe Garrett Gleason has caught up with the second place finisher here tonight, Shane Ewing.
Oh man, Shane, second place. You've been doing this for a long time, my friend. Did you have some fun out there? It looked like fun.
No, because I wasn't fast enough. Um, you know, watching JD drive off into the sunset every lap isn't any fun.
Well, it does get a little boring from a broadcast perspective, but you seem to have had the number 32 machine solidly in the top 5 in contention most of the night. Had a shot at it towards the end when all those restarts happened. What was the balance of your car like out there? Short run speed, long run speed, a little bit of both, or like you said, were you just feeling slow?
On the first couple laps, I was good if I could be on the top. Um, it I just didn't have enough grip on the bottom. Now after a couple laps, if I behaved myself and hugged the white line and didn't overdrive the center, I was pretty good on a long run. Um, but the longest run we had of the night, I had burnt the right front off of it too bad, where I really couldn't roll the bottom effectively. And then, of course, it was way too tight up top. So the last caution that came out was the only shot that I had, and I got to apologize to James that second green white checker, you know, being third is the worst spot you can be. Um, so I was really trying to time the start to give a push, and I just timed it just a bit wrong and barely got into the car in front of me, and it pushed my car up about, I don't know, half a lane, and um, uh, James was coming down just slightly. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, but it really ruined his day. So I hate it for him, but it certainly wasn't anything intentional. And then that last restart, you know, it was just give it everything you had, and what I had wasn't close to good enough. I was lucky he got the wall in front of me to get second. I really deserved third.
Well, Shane, you've been doing this long enough that you've won your fair share of races, and to be disappointed with second place is something I hope to one day be good enough to do and be at that point in my career. But we're taking a week off next week, gonna regroup, recharge, headed to Dover in 2 weeks. What are your thoughts, quick, on Dover, the Monster Mile?
Dover's one of my favorite tracks. And California, I said last week, was my favorite track, and Kansas, yeah, I was looking forward to it, but you know, the car was just too tight. I'd really like these things to be a lot looser. They'd be a lot more fun to drive. You know, some of these guys have got more talent driving these things set up this way than I do, so I got to get better. But you know, Dover's a track that you know. If it's got a little bit of turn, you know, look out for the 32 because I should be pretty good.
I look forward to that, and I know that 32 is going to win a race before the season's over. That's for sure. But I know you have a lot of people that support you. A sponsor on number 32. Time is yours. Just if you want to give them a shout out before we let you go.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. I got to thank all my boys at Disney Motorsports, Rayovac Batteries. I got to thank a guy his name is Rich D. His company's called Rich D PC. He's building me a new PC, and I tell you, the experience, I haven't gotten it yet, but the communication and the experience the whole way through the build has been so refreshing. I bought a computer a year and a half ago from a 3-letter company. I won't mention their names, but they're 3 letters. Most of you guys can figure them out, and I've been totally disappointed there. So big shout out to Rich DPC. I'm looking forward to getting my new hot rod tuned up, and then and getting out here and maybe even run a little faster.
Yeah, maybe the PC was holding you back, so I can't wait for that to happen, Shane. Always a pleasure having you up here in the booth, and I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll get to interview you after in Victory Lane, but Mitchell doesn't let me go to Victory Lane, so you'll have to put up with him.
Mitchell that barely even knows what track we're at, so I'm not worried about that.
I didn't do it this week. I've been good so far. Don't jinx it, but
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
All right, take care, Shane. Mitchell is getting himself down to Victory Lane, having another interview with JD Laird back-to-back weeks. Mitchell, I hope you're making friends down there in the JD Laird entourage.
yeah, I'm getting to talk to JD Laird quite a bit. Congratulations on 2 wins in a row, but last week you were kind of able to get out front and cruise to the win. This week, not the case. Certainly had to work for this one.
Yeah, I did. I just knew not to commit to the top as long as I did. Like I would do it when I led the restart. I ran the top the first lap or so just to see if I could build enough of a gap, and just committed to roll the bottom because I knew however much of a gap I got in those laps I ran up top, if I went to the bottom, they'd have to try twice as hard behind me to make that gap back up. So once I lost the lead there, it's just a matter of just kind of saving tires, buying my time because there was a green flag pit stop coming up, or if there wasn't a green flag pit stop coming up, we were trying to get to the end of the race. Fun fact though, I almost blew this thing up on the long run after like lap 39, 40-ish because I was clutching to save fuel because I didn't know how much fuel we had, and spiked the thing up to 270 on the water temp. I don't know how. Didn't get any motor damage or nose damage. Didn't get any damage, period. So apparently it didn't like me doing that. So I stopped doing what I was doing and was able to cool it back down to like 250 or something like that, whatever it was, because it's the open setup, so it's got more tape. But yeah, I definitely had to work for this a little bit. A lot more than I was hoping for.
We saw you throughout the night really commit to working that inside lane for a lot of it. A lot of other people preferred the outside and ran up there a lot, but it seemed like you were down on the inside lane whenever you got the chance. Is that just kind of where you were liking to run tonight, or did you have a car that could go all over the track? I'm sure you did, but I have to ask.
On a hot lap, I could run up there. But no, I just knew from the get-go, from the last time we ran the Xfinity cars here and another league we ran here, even though it was both times were at night, it was faster to roll bottom because you're up when you're running the top. You put so much load and so much heat into the tires that you can't cool them down if you commit to running the top. You back the corner up, roll the bottom, you can cool tires off better, and ultimately, which saves tire wear because you're not sliding them. So that's why I just committed to the bottom. If you beat me running the top for 60 laps, more power to you. I suck. But I just figured I've won twice at Kansas, rolling bottom with a tight fixed setup. This was a little better, but it was still tight. So I just committed down there and keep the tires cool, and ultimately it paid off till the very end when we started getting that yellow flag in the air too much.
Definitely pulled out another great win here today, dominated this race, and know your time is kind of limited in the series, but it's certainly been a great couple of races for you. We got an off week next week, so I don't know if we'll see you again or not, but hope you've had fun here in these first 4 races, because from our perspective, it's been a blast for you out there winning half the races so far.
Yeah, I feel like I had a probably good shot to win Atlanta. I totally forgot Phoenix. I felt like that was another shot. So I felt like we could have had a shot to win all 4 races this season. But like I said last week, and shockingly, I was able to take a break from what I was doing to do this. But the 46 car is part time. But every time I say we're part time, we actually start to get in the luck back on our side. So I'm just gonna keep saying that we're part time, and if we run the whole season, cool. But it's just fun driving here with the Xfinity car. The Xfinity car is my bread and butter. I love it. It's probably not the best car on the service, but it's the one I have the most fun in, second to the Midget, which is basically a reverse tricycle. But I have fun. So that's ultimately why I said I was going to run part-time here. I wanted to show up, go trophy hunting, and leave, with a lack of a better term. And we've done that back-to-back, and we're having fun doing so. So I want to keep this ride going as long as possible.
We're certainly glad to hear that. Before I let you go, celebrate your victory, Mo, I'll give you a chance to give some shout outs to the sponsors and people who helped get you into victory lane again.
Shout out to Stay Tuned Sports, and I believe it was NSRA, correct me if I'm wrong, that sponsored the race tonight. I forgot to tag everybody in my tweet, but shout out to those guys for putting the money up to broadcast this event, and especially you guys for the broadcast. Everybody involved in TNR for the league, first and foremost. Like, you guys make us drive our pixelated desks to the fullest, the best, and look the prettiest. So we wouldn't have as cool of a series if it wasn't for you guys. Then the sponsors, myself, Fuse Lenses, Aquatech Glassing, Anderson Surfboards, Valvoline, Langford Farm, Spirited by Brad, yada, blah, 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 blah. I say this way too much. Yeah, hopefully we can keep this train going and keep this pretty car clean and in victory lane.
Thanks for stopping by and talking with us again. Congratulations on another great win, and we'll hope to see you more in the future.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Mitchell.
That was JD Laird, tonight's race winner at Kansas Speedway. And Garrett, we talked about it. He just continues to put up great run after great run. And he said he's had a chance to win all 4 races this season. He's exactly right about that. JD's just had an incredible season thus far.
Yeah, JD doesn't expect to be hitting 50% on the races this year. Had some bad luck, and he expects to be 100%. It's always great to have him here, and it's no surprise seeing him in victory lane. But like I was just saying a little bit on our Discord, JD's here. Mike and I have said since TNR was founded back in the day, we want the best racers in the world to show up to Total Nonstop Racing. And if you beat JD Laird, you've earned a victory. And all these guys that finished 2 through 25 in this field tonight, keep running laps, keep learning, keep getting better. And someday you're going to be there knocking on the door for the win. I don't care if you finished 20th tonight and you were down a lap or had bad luck. It's out there. I've won races I didn't deserve to win. All you need is one break, one time, and we'll be interviewing you in the victory lane. So don't get discouraged. And anybody that's new to iRacing, check it out. Check out the Total Nonstop Racing League, Schue's Lawn Service, our Grand National Series, NSRA Truck Series. Get out there, have some fun. We welcome everybody.
You're exactly right about all of that, Garrett. Going to run you through the finishing order from tonight's race, the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series 150. It was JD Laird picking up his second win of the season. Shane Ewing comes home second. Tom Bourne in third. Then outside the podium, Philip Scott in fourth, and Bill Edwards got a top 5 finish here tonight. Then it was Paul Bilson finishing in 6th place. Matthew Rodriguez came home in 7th. Stephen Doziak Jr. in 8th place. Shane Terrian was 9th, and Mike Floppy Tellier rounded out the top 10. Then Bob Giaquinto got up to an 11th place finish, made good use of that tabletop trio lucky dog he got here tonight. David Durand in 12th, Jason Schue 13th, Jamar Dumas in 14th, Jason Freeman in 15th, Vincent Valvano in 16th, and then some DNFs to round out the field. Robert Kinney 17th, James Lorello 18th, Jason Gracias ended up 19th after running up front a lot of today and leading some laps late. Robert Tripp came home in 20th, Bronson Stafford 21st, John Canizaro 22nd, Jake Bustos 23rd, Tristan Thuggy Maher in 24th, and Alonso Chicano started the night second but comes home with a 25th place finish. And that was all 25 cars, the biggest field we've had so far, Garrett. And you like to see the fields get bigger as the season goes on, and so far that's what we've been seeing here in the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service.
Yeah, word of mouth is getting out there. We have a lot of great drivers and a lot of selfless drivers who take the time to tag us on Twitter, tag us on Facebook, share the links here to the World Racing Network broadcast. All that helps, guys, and the fact that we had 25 drivers out there tonight and a very clean race goes a long way, because people are going to watch this race and say, wow, these guys were having fun. The broadcasters were enjoying the race, and there was good action throughout the field, and that's what you want to see when you're looking at a league. So I appreciate everyone that puts us on, and thank you, Mitchell, as always.
As we look forward to the Monday night racing here on the World Racing Network. Like we said, next Monday night we are going to be off, but then in 2 weeks we come back for Dover. Then after that, it's a race I'm very much looking forward to, the road course at Indianapolis. So that should be a great couple of races coming up for you. Want to thank all the sponsors here in the Total Nonstop Racing League. Of course, Schue Lawn Service, the title sponsor of the TNR Grand National Series. Also, big thank you to the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, tonight's race sponsor. Make sure to go check them out. I believe not this Friday, but next Friday night, they will begin racing on 3 Wide TV. You can check them out as well on YouTube. The great Peter Short, I believe, back in the booth for that season. It should be quite a bit of fun. And a lot of these guys, including, I believe, are you racing, Garrett?
I will be there unless I'm needed in the booth. I will be there. In the last couple super speedway races I've raced over there in the truck series, I've ended up wrecking most of the field. So something to look forward to, Mitchell.
We'll see me race and Garrett wreck the field. So make sure to tune in for that. Also, Stay Tuned Sports, sponsors here in the Total Nonstop Racing League, and Tabletop Trio, the Tabletop Trio podcast sponsors the Lucky Dog War. But I think that about does it for us, Garrett. I think we've both said about all we have to say, but anything else before we go off the air tonight?
No, that's it, everyone. I appreciate the effort, and enjoy your week off, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks at Dover.
Thank you all for tuning in here tonight. That is it for our broadcast at Kansas. Until 2 weeks from now at Dover, for myself, Mitchell Adams, my broadcast partner, Garrett Gleason, and all of us at the World Racing Network, we look forward to seeing you in Dover. And until then, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you next time.